Welcome to Your Story. I have with me one of my favorite entrepreneurs, Manish Chowdary, who's the founder of Wow Skin Science, also owned by Fit and Glow, his parent company. He's an amazing entrepreneur. He's got co-founders who are dynamic. They're on to not just become number one on Amazon, but also gone on and taken an Indian brand global in the USA. They've conquered the USA of sorts. But this pandemic has come and hurt us all, and he's here to talk about his brand, what's happening on the ground with manufacturing, with distribution, and what's the future for it. Manish, over to you. How are you doing?
Thanks, Vishal. Thanks for inviting me. Nice
Yeah,
introduction. Humbled by
thank
it.
you.
Lot of brands like us. I mean, we got to keep our on the ground. It's very easy to be diluted on thinking we know everything. It's a lot of learning. See, all these crises, pretty interesting situation for new age brands to battle ourselves out. So it's an interesting phase. It's challenging,
Mm.
interesting. It's something interesting for entrepreneurs to be today.
You did very well between January, February, March quarter. You did really well. Then we had March 23rd happened, right? You want to talk about that last quarter where it's a final mile that you're running, doing extremely well. And you told me when we were on the call earlier that a lot of categories did well in your business. And
Correct.
then suddenly 23rd happened.
So just going back to this quarter, it was something which was very encouraging. A brand like us, which is rapidly growing month on month, the COVID fear seeped into India towards the end of February, and we saw a large-scale fear move get into early March. These were the months where we were seeing new consumers coming on board and buying. These are the consumers who never bought products online. So it was encouraging. And looking at how the West was, we were always strong believers e-commerce could continue to be serviced in a
Mm.
country like ours, where social distancing, uh, the government doing an incredible job of ensuring people stay at home. So the lockdown 23rd came down as a shock to us. At least I at least hope that at least lot be, but it is disheartening to say a lot of critical part of the businesses, warehousing, which is a main and critical part of our eco epicenter of our the way how we function, was not functioning. And till date, if you ask me, things have not yet improved, though they slightly day on day, but I don't think that it's anywhere close to what we were. There are a lot of logistics partners still not coming to few of our master warehouses to come and pick up our inventory. A lot of our pick and packers who come to the warehouse are not coming because of the fear. The ground reality remains challenging. Things are not going to be the same as how they used to. So brands like us and new age companies like us will have to look at creative ways to survive this. And we're pretty confident that we might take this crisis as an opportunity to fill some really big boots, whoever might be hurt larger in the long run. But if you ask me, the last 20, 30 days been incredible for a brand like us. We've been rotating like a machine ever since we started. It was a great overhauling, the engine overhauling for us, and what we did wrong, what we could have done better. We did a lot of infrastructure setups, a lot of processes changed, a lot of our optimizing our businesses. When you got so much of time where your core team can spend more, because on a normal day you're always just looking about revenue and sales and customer, but today it was about customers and how you can do better when things get back to normal. But I really think that it's a long way before we see normal coming back. Things are going to be very different, may it be how we run as an organization, as well as how consumers will be reacting going forward. So it's going to be an interesting time.
Mm.
We fortunately come into a category where essentials we come under. A lot of our products come under it, but we also believe in the e-commerce. For us to flourish, we need the non-essential people also to come on board, because there's so much of infrastructure and setups made be by marketplaces, by logistic companies, that you need both the sides of these large pies to really work together for them to make economic sense. So it's a challenging time. We're close. We are pretty heavily. I mean, if you ask me, I I tell my team, it's like you're going to just the other startup when we started 4 or 5 years back. We're going to do the same inventory planning how it was. In a normal day, we do around 18 to 19,000 orders online. Where somebody just in our team got a 4,000 unit order from somewhere, and we all celebrated it. So you go back down to the roots on how you started, and it's a good check for brands like us to
Wow.
emerge stronger when
Wow.
times are
Manish,
good.
let's get into the details of those things. From 18,000 orders a day to 4,500. That's the
No,
reality.
4,000 was on one of the days, but it's come down
Okay.
as close as around 22,000 to 2,500 orders a day. That's a pretty steep
Drop.
drop down, and
Mhm.
but we have something, then we have nothing. But
Mm.
the silver lining on our business is we sell our products also in the US. US has encouraged e-commerce. The US has given stimulus to small business. I mean, they've given it to a lot. I mean, to just ensure that we don't lay off people in the US, we continue to pay rents. Government have just kept depositing money in our banks to ensure that that doesn't happen. But but at least in India, going back, we should have at least kept e-commerce running at 40 to 50%. Because I really feel hard for the non-essential, if you ask me today, which is also very important for the economy to rotate around.
Okay. And you were also telling me that you're distinguishing between brands, the big brands, and yourself, and you want to fill in the shoes where the big brands couldn't capture at this point of time. What would that be? And why would you be able to beat them at this point of time? Is it because of your definition of essentials, you're able to deliver faster to distribution centers, mostly on Amazon, or even on other platforms, or do you also have an offline strategy?
See, on the so why I would say is a key role for us, and where it could be really interesting for us if we execute well. Uh, Social distancing, consumers going to retail stores to go to large format retail to buy. It's going to take a long time for that to happen. Today, if you see advertising on Facebook, Instagram, and Google, CPM, CPAs are really cheap. But the only problem what we have today is how do you send it to the customer? It's all about customer experience. That means he's going to pay you. And today we have disabled COD across. In fact, it's one of the most. If you ask, uh, the mini crisis, what we saw was the last was demonetization, where we
Yes.
saw CODs reduced drastically and consumers were buying it prepaid. But if you ask me today, in the last 4 years, on the kind of prepaid orders we are getting on our website is phenomenal. I mean, I was just speaking to Karan a few minutes back and he said, I wish I can continue this for long. It's just like how the US does the business. US has no cash and carry. It's completely on credit card and then deliveries happen because COD in India is abused heavily. It hits bottom lines of companies like us. But we look at few of these spots where business economics on e-commerce, where our products fit into e-commerce models, consumers today changing their consumer behaviors on understanding a product much better because of social media availability. A lot of consumers searching in this lockdown on what's good and what's bad. They're not going to compromise on health and wellness. Is something which could be interesting for players like us to take some large pockets of some large players in the months to come.
Okay. How much of your business was COD at that point of time, last quarter?
We were close to 50-50, and today we are at 100%. But it's a change, what I would say,
100%, 100% credit card or debit card or
100%.
100%?
A lot of our payments are coming from UPI as well as
Ah.
Paytm
So no
today.
more cash. COD is over. It used to be
See,
50-50.
Vishal, because social distancing, you don't want a delivery boy to come in. The new SOPs on e-commerce says a delivery boy should not be closer than 3 meters to a customer when delivering a product. Even if he pulls in a credit card and asks a consumer to do it, it's something which is going to be something which you want to avoid today till the time you have our Setu app giving more accurate data on what's happening. But things are going to be interesting. I wouldn't say challenging. I would say interesting on how businesses will happen for the next 18 to 24 months.
Okay. When you say 18 to 24 months, that's a long time. A lot of businesses won't survive. How do you look at yourself in the timeline of, say, next 2 quarters? What is going to change? Two data points to you. Apparently, 10 million truckers are stuck. Of the 10 million, 7 million are stuck. They have no blue collar workers to load, unload. And truckers themselves are sitting at home because of this fear. You raise a very valid point. Why not let the non-essential guys also come in and do something at this point of time, right? So that it at least has these people coming back and working for you. But even that's
So,
not happening. So
Vishal, it's it going back. It's sad that a country like us, which has picked up innovation, picked up technology. Look at how things have drastically changed with us adapting technology. But today, our government says that it's not a level playing field with the offline players. And I just got off another webinar with a pretty senior logistics government official, and the outright communication is till the time mom and pop and the other offline stores don't open, don't expect anything to happen in the e-commerce. So I would, my recommendation was, it's a great opportunity for the small mom and pop stores to go digital. There are so many marketplaces which are giving options and opportunity. Just look at Jio and Reliance Steel yesterday. Look at what Amazon did today. 5,000 Kirana stores on their app connected with Kirana stores. This is a time when everybody has to be innovative on how commerce is going to continue.
Okay. Just stepping back. When you say Amazon's got 5,000 Kiranas, I know there's Reliance and Facebook that's doing something, that have announced something for Kiranas. Even Jumbo Tail's doing something with Kiranas. Go Frugal. What else? There's a couple of other companies like Mobisi Technologies, also SnapBiz, right? So what would you do? I mean, you as a brand have to supply to a marketplace like Amazon, who will then fulfill your orders to a Kirana, who will then deliver.
So the model is clear. Your customer is going to be either Amazon or Reliance. They are the ones who are going to replenish the Kirana store with your inventory on the whole model. What I understand would be that within a Kirana store takes an order online, he gets a SOP or any of the delivery promise in the next 2 hours, or maybe a 24 hours delivery. He needs to acquire that inventory from one of these large players and then deliver it at home. So that's a business model which is going to be interesting for times to come. And it could be game changers.
When will it start? When will this onboarding start?
I've seen amazing decks by one of the large guys here. I wouldn't mention. I was invited in Mumbai, so I'm giving a very good indication. It looks something crushing, but I haven't seen implementation right now. But it's at least the move of what I'm hearing on Jio and Facebook is something which could be disruptive. It's interesting, I would say that. And see, everybody has to look at innovative ways of selling, and brands like us and a lot more other new age brands are going to take that challenge.
I mean, it's a challenge for what? I mean, for you, it's more of an enabler, right? These platforms will come to you, still buy from you. That means they will fulfill the orders for the consumer. They'll come to you and say, okay, here is what we need. And they will probably buy the stock from you outright, or obviously they call themselves tech companies. So you'll probably have to distribute into their warehouses. And from their warehouses into Kirana, right?
Correct.
So that's going to happen.
It will happen. It's a question of time when it will happen. How many pilots? How does it do well? But I think it's going in the right direction, if you ask me.
I think so. If that is the case, I mean, I think brands are safe. But how fast they do it is important, because there are so many smaller brands that will die if this continues the next 3 months.
Vishal, see, whether you're funded or not funded, my advice to all companies is keeping emotions out, doing best for what the company. So even if it's a small brand or some small operator who's listening to us, we also started small. And times like this,
I completely remember those moments.
Yeah, times like this. I mean, see, brands like us have lowered our gears down. We are ready to take some. I've been blessed with a brilliant team who have themselves voluntarily come and said, we want the company to do well. We're going to be here. So we worked on how we can compensate them back during festive time. But today it's all about conserving cash and how well you can. My advice is have a blend of push a lot towards profitability during this time, and also do some smart marketing activities online. Or I think offline is not a place where we should be venturing any of the ATLs or any of these. But you might get all these things. You want to preserve those cash for these opportunities which you get longer. But online is a great opportunity. Logistics needs to be opened up. Customer promises on delivery and experience. For a company like us, I'll prefer to sell less today, but I like to see that my customer is happy when he gets the product on time. So that's going to be a critical part of our business.
So how are you handling your logistics today? I mean, today everything is fulfilled to Amazon. Obviously, you're sending it to their warehouse. How's your manufacturing plant?
So just giving you insight, a lot of our sales today is happening on our own website. We just launched our own app. 10 days back. Conversions are much better than desktop. In fact, we're in the top 50 apps on Apple Store. I'll send you the screenshot
Mhm.
after this. It's
Yes,
encouraging
please.
time. See, it's a time for all businesses to look for innovative ways to sell, how to acquire consumers. Uh, Going back on ground reality on the manufacturing side, few of our we first 20 days of the lockdown, we couldn't get packaging material on time. Our
You
printers
told
were
me.
not allowed to. Our printers were not allowed to open their factories. Even if they were open, they had to only make for hand sanitizers. But things have slightly improved day on day.
Mhm.
Challenges are on how the factory operates. We have a hotel just opposite the factory where we manufacture in Parwanu. There are a lot of our key scientists and key members of the team have been put up. So there's less distancing. I mean, there's social distancing. Their job is just to walk across the street, come back to work. We're working at 30% of the capacity. But the bright side is I've just sending 7 containers to the US because US business has spiked a lot. So it's
Have they
not
opened
doomsday.
it up? Have they opened up ports already? Exports are happening?
Uh, I just got off the logistic call. In a day, I think they are moving 6,000 containers, is what he's saying, which are good numbers as of now.
That's so good
And
for you.
and if
You're
you
doing
ask,
7 containers, huh? You're
we're
doing
doing
seven
seven
containers.
containers, and I can send you some photographs. It says it's essential commodities, a truck going straight to Mumbai. It's interesting, but at least uh, some jobs, some opportunities lie for a lot of people around. It's not doomsday scenario. Yes, it's challenging times, but I just told you, like US is still happening for us, and the way how
Okay.
they have adapted to e-commerce, you stay at home, we'll deliver what you want. Brands like us have got a good 20-30% spike on daily revenues, which is very encouraging.
So that's good. You're always a positive person too, and you guys have figured out the game better than anybody. Your brother is a marketing guru in many ways.
And
I don't
Ashwin
have
too,
him. Yeah, Ashwin obviously in the US, absolutely,
right?
and Karan obviously is with you too. I'd like to know one thing: how do you guys do your marketing in these times?
So it's very, if you ask me, it's very uh, ROI driven today.
Hmm.
We are definitely shooting for profits. We don't campaigns which don't do well for us. We cut them. However good the content could be, we have no emotions to those. It's about how well you can optimize your business today, keeping cash in mind and keeping profitability. See, today is a time when you would want to reap profits. If you ask me, the revenues I'm doing today is clearly on MRP or with less discounting, because it's not like I'm wanting to take more money from the consumer. It's a challenge to deliver the products into warehouses. Cost of shipping is slightly at a premium because they are having a COVID cess and few of these extra charges. But today is a time I would tell anyone is ensure that you conserve cash. Profitability is a good opportunity for the next 3 to 4 months. Keep cash
Okay.
for when times are good. You can deploy those cash, the larger quantum, which could give you
Hmm.
better effects. Remember one thing: travel industry holds a lot of inventory online on Instagram, Facebook. They're nowhere going to come close for the next 12 to 18 months advertising heavily. So you're going to get a lot of inventory spots for cheap, and you want to keep that when logistics opens, whether it's an essential or a non-essential.
Okay, and you're not doing any CPM kind of business. I mean, advertising at this point of time. You guys are gurus of keywords and the way to use content to actually get people to use your product, right? Is
It's
that
all
is
of,
that going to go
so
away?
our bottom line, we're going to just look at any avenues wherever we ensure that we don't go excessive on burning or trying. See, today's not a time to be a cowboy. It's a time to be very, very prudent about what's an opportunity lies on you, at least on profitability. So CPM, CPAs, if they make any business sense to us, it's not like something we are not keeping an open eye not to do it. But if an opportunity lies, we'll grab onto it.
Okay, between modern trade, standalone modern trade, and kiranas, are you at all three at this point of time? And I've seen your product as far as Kolar, believe me. And some of the, I don't know where they pick up your product. Maybe they've ordered it online and they sell it in the stores. But so you have to tell me.
So Vishal, majority of we did a NPS score and we wanted to know a customer better. Our highest metrics of building a brand today is word of mouth and a referral. and a brand like ours has done very less brand equity, which we plan to do in, which we are scheduled to do in 2021. So I'm humbled to know that as close as Kolar is where my products are. But prior to that, we saw lot of penetration with a few other marketplaces where they were very strong on tier 3 and tier 4. That's where the real India story and the real consumption as brands like us want to emerge. They don't have the exposure to large MNC players in our category where we want to go and service them. Is a one good choice like us where we have built a global looking brand, global aspiration. So I'm really thankful for telling me that I'm also there in a mom and pop store in Kolar. But going back, we have strategy for 2021, which was deployed for GT in a long way, slightly higher on the GT side, not the base of the GT spectrum, but and also I was invited by a lot of modern trade retailers. Unfortunately, the lockdown came at a time where this happened. But we have had one of the largest chains get in touch with me and saying that, you know what, we want few of this location. Just send us inventory because we got empty shelves. We like to fill you up. We don't want to go through the process of paperwork. We'll just do it. So you're seeing a lot of these modern trade guys, whoever are open, trying to do businesses in a very unconventional manner of onloading people. But the plan is there. But I think we're going to wait and watch on understanding how consumer behavior sets in, how it's going to happen, and then we like to deploy more time and energy. But right now, we're going to continue to use the digital opportunity for at least the next few months because social distancing is going to be the norm. So that's going to be a big win.
I want to know post-pandemic, you guys were doing how much was it online versus offline?
7% of my revenues come offline.
Okay.
93% is still online. But
how about now? What about now?
Now is, if you ask me, distributors of mine are not getting the stocks. They are not able to deliver it to a lot of stores which are closed. It's as good as a percent, I would say. It's tough unless you have a large network like one of these large legacy FMCG brands where they have the ways of still moving numbers. But brands like us, where we're just building our network, it's at a standstill right now. But opportunity lies huge once this thing opens up.
You were just in talks with the government guys, right? So if they say you have to go to Kirana, who will bell the cat? Is it the Amazon to the Reliance of the world will bell the cat with Kiranas, or would you have to create your own distribution there?
See, it's all about they creating it for you and you going and getting them serviced. So it's going to be a lot of data and analytics to know which stores fit into your brand's fit. There could be some Kirana stores which really cater to low-end stuff, which we might not be a fit. But what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing is that there's a lot of technology and analytics which is creating these opportunities for brands like us because we are 2x more than a FMCG conventional brand. One is we give a much more better promise on what we are giving them as a product and quality, and the story what we are giving our customers. So we have to be very adaptable to understand where you want to go into. It's not where every Kirana store would want us in. It's even a few of the large brands are not there in almost all the Kirana stores. So it's an opportunity which you have to look when time comes. But we are around a good 2 years, 3 years away from a system like that to be built.
Man, I mean, I'm telling you, you have to talk about your US business now. You just said you shipped 6 containers, and I'm very happy for you. And what has the US done that India could probably emulate? And what do you want from the government? Please be very clear, because some of them just say that we want a GST waiver. Some people say, can I use GST inputs? Because anyway, the government has to pay me GST input. I mean, the inputs waiver is there, right? They'll probably give it to you in the end of the year. Can I take that as a way to get working capital loan from banks? Can banks give it to me at 6% interest? And once the government pays me the money, I can waive off the loan too, right? So, or offset the loan rather. That's a better word to use. So what are your thoughts? What is the US doing? What is it doing correctly? What do you think the Indian government should do in terms of making sure that people like you have liquidity?
I'll just keep this answer short. At least let's get down to the bottoms of at least on a comparison with the developed nation like US. I mean, US, if you ask me, I was there. I left luckily back on time on March 11th back home after my family pressurized me because I went for a 2 week trip. They were not serious about this pandemic. They were not at all. I mean, there were no checks. People
Absolutely.
were moving around.
Absolutely.
I landed. I went through Singapore Airlines. They did a lot of checks of me. I landed at LAX. It was just normal day when you landed there. All right. So they really didn't take it seriously. And I was all across. I mean, our office and our house is very close. It's walkable. It was, and Whole Foods is just opposite our apartment. And I never saw any of these things where people were either covering their face with a mask or
Faces.
gloves. But Ashwin was paranoid about it. He bought gloves, he bought masks, he shut off the air conditioning in our office. He had that in him. But if you ask me, the Americans were not at all in that. What they did right, and what Amazon, if you see Amazon stocks really surged last few days back, they didn't switch off e-commerce. They prioritized essentials, which was needed that time. They didn't allow price gouging. They didn't allow people to manipulate the system. They did a brilliant job. We do 50% of our revenues on our own website. Our logistics were open. FedEx, UPS, all were open. There was business as usual. And what happened? There was a serious surge on consumers coming online and buying. Helped a new brand like us to bump up our sales. That was something great. And if you ask me, I was there on March 11th and I was seeing India sales. And I said, you know what? This is going to be something amazing. I mean, getting new consumers coming online. I think India is 4% of India buying online. It's so small today. Our business plan says we are going to be X amount in the next 5 years. I said, you know what? We're going to do this in 3.5 years. It was that encouraging. But the way how the whole system collapsed was something which was not well thought of. It is, let's destroy it today and then let's think how to get it back again, which is very difficult to start. And if you ask me, a brand like us, we all start back from zero today. Whenever we start, it's not going to be something which is going to be so if you ask me, this is something where the government should have really stepped in. If you ask me, I'm a big fan of this government. I'm a brand owner. I can't be politicizing this issue, but all I'm saying, it's a phenomenal way how he's protected lives instead of livelihoods, which is phenomenal. But logistics should have continued happening. The passes, if you remember the passes in Bangalore, an article came, 50% of Bangalore wanted passes.
Yeah.
There was of the system. Have been much more better way of at least ensuring trade and commerce went about well. I went and told, I mentioned this in my webinar earlier to this, that's an opportunity for the mom and pop store, the small non-essential guy, to think about coming online today. He can sell business with WhatsApp. He can do businesses all across. Encourage him to at least open his business, keep his shutter down, but at least he continues catering to commerce. That would have helped us ensuring that we keep our team intact. There's no layoffs. There's not a lot of stress on the businesses, because revenues have to come somewhere. Whether you're funded or not, have an emotion of 1 or 2 months, I'm going to give 100%. But then there's going to be a time coming saying, you know what, this is going to go on too long. I don't know where it is, and now I'm going to start chopping things off. So it's better to neutralize and have a good opinion on how you should be doing it. But the government should have allowed e-commerce to function. And unfortunately, I think the government is also looking today as, you know what, let's look at saving lives, which is very important today. I am for it. And let's think about the commerce returning back. And believe me, the economy will be fixed back again. There's lives, the ones which you can't get them back. So going back, if you ask me, the 3 months of not paying GST, 9% is the interest on it. I think that's cheap working capital for you to at least be afloat. In ours, 18% of that is there. Though I have a huge amount of GST credits in it, which I now thinking getting a pullback on how do I get them back. Otherwise, I was happy to keep funds with them, because every month keep sending them money in and out. But for smaller brands, and just giving few of them, it's not bad for 9% interest. That even if you delay GST,
have they announced that
that's some
9%
liquidity
interest?
for
Have they announced?
I think it is 9. I think it's 9 and 10, 9 or 10% is what
Okay.
I heard. With an interest component of around 9 or 10, it's reasonable. It's cheap capital at the end
Take
of the
this
day.
to the banks and say, okay, money will come in the end of the year. Please give me a working capital line. You can waive it off when the credit comes in.
So I'll tell you something. If you ask me, the banks are doing exactly opposite what the governments are asking them to do. Exactly opposite. In fact, we have a small working limit which Amazon has given it to us with a service account, that you have some working capital, which we just kept because we have only one debt in our book. That bank came back and said, looking at the liquidity crisis today and knowing where you're using this money, they just zeroed down all sellers' limits. So they're doing exactly opposite. And if you go and ask today for a bank loan, the guy, what, you'll have to wait for the lockdown to happen, the paperwork, your checks of the office and everything. It's something which should have been done well. Today, the government should be robustly giving loans to people with online, but there's some part of the country which abuses it all. But there should be some mechanism where you reach out to business, even if it's loans. I was there on your yesterday's. I was seeing your Instagram live yesterday, and one of the gentlemen said about the government initiative of giving loans, and I did pass it on to a few of my friends. And the process is pretty painful. It's a month-old process of getting that done.
And I don't think you'll qualify. You have more than 2 employees, no?
But I have 2 companies which are there, which is
Yes,
I have
I got it.
manpowers, which is there. But you know what? It's something which is, if you ask me on comparison, the government has first reached out to SMEs and the smaller companies that, okay, you know what? We're going to give you a loan. The loans which they gave out in the US is unreturnable. That means you don't need to give it back. As long as you pay your salaries, you pay your rent, we don't want the money back. And we have applied for something which is small, which we should get what we are eligible for. Something like this to reach out to brands like us, keeping the hopes going on. It was just a strict no layoffs, no that we agree with that. But I think the government, or at least times like this, is to at least save or try to at least, okay, we're going to lend you money. You have to return it back. Low interest rates for X amount. We're going to do it online. We're going to reach out to X amount of people.
That's amazing.
Or we are still waiting for it to happen.
No, I mean, so at the moment, only e-commerce is happening. Essential items are moving. But e-commerce should have been allowed completely.
Yes.
So you're saying non-essentials also should open up for jobs, fix the logistics, private companies can figure out how to maintain social distancing of workers. They can also be allowed to stay close to the office if need be. They can be monitored, and then basically open up the trucking, work with the kiranas. There's enough data anyway. I think there's data, right? So firstly, all of you guys pay GST, number one. All you need to do is figure out a way to integrate the kiranas, and there are companies doing that already.
Correct. Many are there.
Many are there, right? So you just need to ask these guys to collaborate with each other and figure out a commercial mechanism.
So the gentleman started the webinar saying that we all have to look at creative ways to trade in this environment. So my question was, it's a creative way. Even a kirana, you should give an opportunity for a kirana store and the small stores to be to be creative on the way how things are going to be selling. See, there's nobody going to go to their stores. Things are going to be different. You're seeing already that offline, you got to give a call to the guy. He's going to come outside the store, give it to you in your car. I don't know how things are going to happen. You got to be open about how these things are going to. See, if you ask me, I'm not writing it off. That something like this might not come. But if you ask me today after hearing it, I think it's very straightforward. E-commerce for non-essentials will only open if mom and pop stores will open. And the only answer is that it should be level playing field for both of them. It should not be an opportunity for online guys to disrupt them.
Absolutely. See, I mean, instead of government just laying it out on the table and say, let's figure it out. Instead of that, they could have called the non-essential guy saying, what is your take in working with kiranas? Right? And I'm sure they'd figure it out. Right? Now that we are wasting another month, you have to remember, you're a businessman. You would know this better. You'll probably have cash for another 45 days.
Slightly more, but it is something which is a concern. If you ask me, I mean, it's not that bad, but there are creative ways
for you, it won't be a problem because you've done well for yourself over the last 3 years. But others, it is a problem. And probably, I mean, what advice would you give now I'm not saying advice to anybody in a sense, just at least saying, what should we do? What should the government do immediately? Open up a logistics corridor, open up a health products corridor, and a food corridor, and a non-essentials corridor, right? Basically logistics.
If you ask me, Vishal, logistics is happening, but with a lot of pain. Food, health is already happening. Non-essentials also should come in this. It keeps the economy running. And nobody's running business models where it be large logistic players or marketplaces only to service essentials. It's not possible. You're not going to remove. See, we are looking at the small guys like us. You got to start filling into the boots to understand what the large guys are also going to have pains on. It's
Okay.
going to have a
Okay.
rippling effect if this goes on long term, if you ask me.
Yeah, let's talk about this on our Instagram next. And I want you to quickly tell us, you're raising money, or at least a lot of people are chasing you.
I will leave this to inform you when something happens in the next couple of weeks. But it's not doomsday scenario, but it's definitely a risk-off scenario today, if you ask me. But this is something which is happening since long on, at least on seeing on a transaction how it goes through. But I'll get back to you on that at the right time.
Thank you for that answer. And Manish, as usual, you're fantastic. Thank you for your honesty, your
Thank you, Vishal.
candidness. And listen, all the best to you.
Same to you.
And look forward to seeing you on the live show in a couple of hours.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you in a bit.
Thank you.
Bye.